that immunosuppression brings long-term relief to everyone? Do you think that everyone who's taking medications get better? If shutting down the immune system was the long-term solution to managing chronic illnesses like autoimmune conditions, then we would find more and more people getting better and better each day with the increasing use of these kind of drugs. But we often see just the opposite, right? So suppressing the immune system would be like shutting down the police force without trying to figure out what is making them attack their own forces, right? To figure out what is really going on, what is at the root of it all. So what I want you to do is to focus on why is your immune system attacking your own tissues, right? So this is what happens in the case of autoimmune conditions, other conditions, other diseases like other conditions like allergies, asthma, eczema. There is also immune dysregulation at play. So again, getting to the root of why the immune system is out of balance, right? And why is it behaving like this? And how by bringing it back into balance, we can sort of get the immune system to appropriately respond to a real threat and switch off when it is not required. So if you are tired of relying on medication to simply suppress your immune system, that's how you can, that's the only way that you can manage your condition, and which actually does not really address the root causes of your autoimmune disease, then this live session is for you. By focusing on the underlying causes of your symptoms, you can improve your overall health and well-being. And I want to make one thing very clear. I am not saying that you should not use medications or medications are not useful or life-saving. Indeed, they are, right? We need to use immune-suppressing medications, oral steroids, to manage our symptoms, because symptoms can become so severe that it affects our daily life and we can't really do anything. It can be extremely painful and debilitating. So there are situations when we need to use this, but it does not mean that they are a long-term solution. So at the same time, we need to figure out what's going on and how to address that. And in this post, I'll share with you some actionable steps that you can start taking today, so that you actually use a more holistic approach to managing your condition. Because sometimes the consequences of suppressing the immune system can be disastrous, right? So it happened in the case of my daughter, where she was hospitalized with a life-threatening infection given, which was a direct result of a rare drug side effect given to manage her severe eczema. She was not yet 7 years old, and that was the only thing that the conventional medicine had to offer, because they had pretty much tried everything else, and it almost cost her life. And these were the I will never ever forget the feeling of helplessness, the feeling of defeat, the sheer terror that we felt in those 2 weeks when we did not know what the future would hold like for her. And it took 2 weeks, and in fact it was on her 7th birthday that the doctors could say that she would survive, because her bone marrow had revived and her body was basically able to again sort of get back on track. And that's why when I see that this is the same thing, and it's been about 10 years now, same thing that people are told that this is the only way, that suppressing the immune system is the only way to get better, and in fact people just keep getting worse and worse. In fact, sometimes the symptoms become worse, or they develop additional symptoms, or infections like in the case of my daughter, or even go to develop other autoimmune conditions, which is why I actually work with women with autoimmune conditions, because this is something which is very close to my heart, and I can make out that most people have no idea what they're dealing with, and they don't really get the support that they need, right? So which is what I was looking for when my daughter was in so much of pain and suffering. And honestly, there were very few people who could help me, and it took me a year of research to figure out who to ask for help. And that is when I literally stumbled across functional medicine, and I took the help of a functional medicine practitioner in London, and he provided me some the guidance that I needed. But the lot of the work and everything changes that I had to make were extremely hard, and day-to-day life was really hard. She of course recovered and came back home, but it was a slow recovery, like it usually is in these kind of cases. So when I see other people who are going through the same kind of pain, it really makes me sad, and it makes me angry at the same time, right? So I feel really sad for them because I know exactly what they're going through. We as a family went through this when we saw a child suffer, and it makes me angry because there's nobody to tell them that there is another way, and you can find a solution which is more effective actually and less harmful, and that's more of a holistic approach. Maybe something like a functional medicine approach, which is what we do, because in functional medicine we don't believe that suppressing the immune system is the way, or suppressing anything actually is the way, because we try and figure out what's really going on and why, what is happening with the immune system, what's going on in the body, what is the kind of environment that the person is living in. So we use something called the systems biology approach, which means that we look at the whole body as a network of intertwined, interconnected systems. So systems, that means they're made up of organs, different organs, neurotransmitters, hormones, and it's all interacting with each other, talking to each other, and having an impact on each other, right? That's what actually makes functional medicine so different. And we have a basis from Ayurveda, which again focuses on and traditional Chinese medicine on finding and addressing the root cause, because that's what is the key, and that is the long-term solution, right? So in the case of my daughter, it was only when I could focus on her gut health that I could see that her symptoms started receding, and eventually it took a while. It took about 2 years, but she eventually got off her medications. So as I said, it's not about an either or situation, whether you need to take medicines or not. That's not what I'm talking about here. Many cases it's both, but it's about figuring out what are the steps that you can take so that immune system is does not need to be suppressed, right? And that you can bring it back to balance. And there are three main reasons why we need to go beyond suppressing the immune system, and I've given one example of one. Because suppressing the immune system can increase risk of infection and other complications, and that's exactly what happened in my daughter's case. When the immune system is suppressed, the body is less able to fight off infections, of course, and this can lead to an increased risk. And this is, again, it's actually a sad thing because it's kind of a vicious cycle, because here you have people who are already immune compromised, and then you're suppressing, so they are at higher risk for the infections. So it's actually quite a bit of mess, right? So that's something that we need to keep in mind. Secondly, I also sort of mentioned that the suppressing the immune system does not really address the root causes, right? It's like shooting the messenger when he's trying to tell you something. That's not the root cause. We need to figure out what's going on, and in this case, it's gut health, right? It's connected. We know there is so much of body of research, and I've talked about it before. I write a blog about it on my website anindita.com, that gut health is at the root of so many different chronic illnesses, and there is a perfect storm at play in the case of autoimmune conditions. That is what actually brings about autoimmune disease activation, and when we are able to work on all these areas, that's when we can halt and even reverse this progression. And people are doing it. I'm doing it for my clients, so it's certainly possible, and there's so much of research, and it's all science and evidence based. So suppressing the immune system, again, does not address the root cause of autoimmune conditions, and it can help manage the symptoms, and sometimes that is necessary in the short run, but ultimately you'll have to go beyond that, right? And of course, a holistic approach can help improve overall health and well-being, because having a chronic illness is not just about physical symptoms, right? So we have mental and emotional aspects of it, and in any case, living with a chronic illness is inherently stressful. So either way, it affects our mental and emotional health. So all of this has to be taken into account when we are trying to help anyone, or when we are trying to deal with any kind of chronic illness or like autoimmune condition. All of these areas have to be addressed. It's not, so that means the whole person has to be addressed actually. So the whole person has to be taken into account, their internal environment, their external environment, which means that what kind of thoughts do they have, their mindset, their stress, their external environment, what foods that they're consuming, their diet, their lifestyle. All of it has to be taken into account when we are dealing with any kind of chronic illness, and that's exactly what I do in my own coaching program. So I take my clients through a 3-pillar framework. I call it body-wise healing, because I also believe that you need to work with your body and not against your body when you're trying to deal with any kind of chronic illness, because the kind of guidance and wisdom that you get from your body is unparalleled. No matter how many tests you can do, how many experts you see, you are the one who's living in your body. You are the one who has access to all that wisdom. Nobody else has that kind of access. So by learning how to tune into that wisdom, learning how to listen to it, is the best guide that you can ever have. So which is why I called it Body-Wise Healing Framework. And what I do is I take my clients through this entire program, and what happens as a result of working with me for 6 months, they become tuned into what their body's messages are, typically in the form of symptoms. So symptoms actually are a gift in that sense and not a curse. And they are able to understand whether they are on the right track or not. So when somebody asks me that how do I know whether I'm getting better, how do I know that I'm on the right track, or this is going to suit me or this is not going to suit me, I just smile at them and say, you will know. You will know because you will be able to tune into what your body is telling you. As we go through this program, you will become aware of your, so I call it body awareness. That will increase substantially, and you will have the answers that you're looking for, right? So this is something that is critical in the case of chronic illnesses, which are extremely complex, because there's so many things that are going on. And people usually get lost in trying to figure out what they should do first, and then second, and then third, and which one they should focus on. How will they know if they need to change anything, tweak anything? So my answer to that always is by working with your bodies and not against your body, right? So that's the whole Body-Wise Healing Framework. So I want to leave you with 5 actionable steps that you can take to implement a more holistic approach. So the first thing, these are basic things, but I think they're so important that I always keep repeating them. The first thing would be to eat a balanced and anti-inflammatory diet. By that I mean healthy proteins, healthy fats, and a whole lot of plant foods, right? So a whole lot of fruits, more than fruits, vegetables, leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, etc., which really help. All vegetables are anti-inflammatory, especially the leafy greens and cruciferous vegetables are extremely important, and they reduce inflammation, and inflammation is one of the things that go hand in hand with an enhanced immune response. So we don't need to shut down inflammation because that's life-saving, but we need to certainly get it under control. So these are the foods that we need to focus on, and at the same time, of course, cut out as much processed and refined foods as possible. Practicing stress management techniques is extremely important, right? So chronic stress can aggravate autoimmune symptoms. So making sure that we have some kind of stress management techniques that we are using. So, and I take my clients through a whole lot of them. Self-care is a big pillar, big part of my coaching program, and there, I help my clients to implement these, techniques. So whether it's but you can do it. You can do it yourself, whether it's mindfulness, whether it's journaling, whether it's deep breathing, meditation. And even if you can take the time out and walk barefoot on the grass, be close to nature, even if it's for 15 minutes a day, that itself is de-stressing, right? So these are things that you can do yourself, or you can take the help of someone to help you with. Physical activity is important. Moving our bodies were designed to move. You will feel, we feel better when we are moving, and that means moving throughout the day. I myself have to remind, when I get sucked into my work, because I enjoy my work so much, I have to put timers. So I have timers going off every 40 to 45 minutes to remind me to take a break, move my body, take a sip of water, go around the house. Right now I'm working from home. So that's what helps me to sort of move my body during the day. And of course, finding some kind of exercise routine that works for you, whether it's swimming, walking, yoga, Tai Chi, anything, right? Something, for me it's dancing. So I do, one of my main workouts is actually dance, not only Zumba, but another free flow dance form, all kinds of dances. So it's what you actually enjoy doing, right? So that's what you need to focus on. Even some of the alternative therapies that we call, whether it's acupuncture, massage therapy, some of these things can also help. So that you need to figure out what actually can work for you, and you have to take Here you should actually take professional advice as to what will suit you given your health conditions, right? So rather than starting something without learning more about it, you need to know more about it, and need to take into account your the person, that medical professional, health professional that you're working with before you start something. But these are quite effective, and actually they can help with pain management as well, right? Acupuncture, for example, or a chiropractor. And of course, working with somebody who can guide you through this process. So this is something that again you can start at a very small level, whether it's a health coach or a functional medicine practitioner. You would already be working with a healthcare professional to if you're on any kind of medications or treatment. So that's ongoing in any case. That's not something that should stop, especially if you've already been diagnosed with some condition. So that is an ongoing thing. But apart from that, you can choose to work with a functional medicine health coach or a practitioner, because they are the ones who can help you to implement all this, right? But it's certainly not necessary. Some of these changes that I've just talked about, things that you can do, you can implement yourself and start small. But it is, of course, it cuts down the time, and the whole process, it becomes much easier if you work with someone. So that's something that you need to consider. In fact, I'm working on a free ebook which I think will be extremely valuable for you. It's called Autoimmune Healing Toolkit for Women, and that's I know this because I did several polls, surveys before I shortlisted this particular topic. And it's a toolkit that will be focusing on different kinds of tools one can use to create a healing environment. I'm a big believer in creating a healing environment and laying a strong foundation, so that even when you get better, like you start seeing your symptoms recede and your disease in remission, of course that's really amazing, but you need to also stay in that it also has to be sustainable, basically. So these are the tools that you can have in your toolkit, whether it's journaling, mindfulness, diet plans, stress management. So these are the things that you can have in your toolkit, which can actually be what you need to make sure that you sustain all the health benefits and the health improvements that you have noticed, right? So this is something that I teach my clients how to do in my coaching program. As I mentioned, it's a 3-pillar framework called Body-Wise Healing. So I'm putting it together in this toolkit, and it's called Autoimmune Healing Toolkit for Women. So if you want to join the wait list, it will be ready in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be a mixture of text and audio. You can sign up for the wait list by heading to the link in bio or going to the link below. And I'll see you again soon.